Hi, welcome to Terra 360. It is said that today Brazil is having one of its most important elections in history. President candidates Inácio Lula da Silva, on the one hand, representing the progressive sectors, Jair Bolsonaro, on the other side, representing the far right. Global Exchange, in collaboration with communication studio Peninsula 360 Press, is on the ground with a team of journalists to report firsthand the conditions there during the election and the outcomes. To talk to us about the elections, we are joined by Laura Carson, political analyst, director of the Americas program, Michael Fox, independent journalist based in Brazil, and Fernando Cruz, Brazilian independent journalist. I would like to start with Laura Carson. Why are these elections important?
Most important elections for not only Brazil, but the entire region. And so I felt it was absolutely essential to be here today to see firsthand what's happening. It's also an election where many things come into play, one of which being, two very different futures between the far right, which is receiving considerable support from an international far right that has economic, political, and social agenda that would essentially eliminate marginalized sectors from having a future in many ways, as well as being directly associated with issues that affect and eliminate the rights of women and other diversities. And then there's also the possibility that we could see a new Latin American confirmation of powers in which there again is the opportunity, as in the first kind of so-called pink wave, to create new South-South forms of integration, especially the CELAC, the Community of Latin American and Caribbean countries, as well as some other configurations that are essentially set up to stand up against U.S. hegemony in the region and to create a more global South agenda.
Laura, where are you now?
Right now, I'm on Avenida Paulista in the middle of Sao Paulo, and I've been walking around this morning. It's a sunny day. It looks like a typical Sunday, except for we're seeing a lot of people with their Lula caps on and going out to vote. Of course, Lula is hoping for a high turnout. A high turnout. It's obligatory to vote in Brazil, but still the fine is minimal, so that many people for whom it's difficult decide not to vote. They can't afford the cost, but they have initiated free transportation to facilitate voting. And so Lula, especially, is hoping for a high turnout because that should be an advantage to his campaign, since it's mostly the poor who have difficulties voting.
Okay, thank you so much, Laura. Michael, where are you now?
So I'm also in Sao Paulo. I'm near Praça República, and I'm going to be heading back out to the polling stations this afternoon. What we've seen today, Lula and Bolsonaro, they both voted early this morning. There is some concerns that we've seen these reports about potential federal police blocking at certain spots the passage of cars, particularly in northeastern Brazil. And remember, this goes back to this question that Laura was talking about, and the importance of having a high turnout. One of the things that people are afraid of is there might be attempts by Bolsonaro allies to slow down the process. We saw some of this in the first round. So that's a concern that we're still trying to confirm reports about exactly what's happening. But that is something we've heard some reports of.
Okay, thank you. And Fernando, I understand you're in Brasilia. What is the scenario there in the country's capital?
Yeah, I'm here in Brasilia, exactly at the center of the capital. Things are quite normal. My section is where I voted. It's not far away from here. and it's been very quiet. But like Michael said, we also are getting reports about this very dangerous highway patrols. The police are stopping, buses, on the northeast side of the country to apparently stop voters, and that's potentially a crime and against the court, the Superior Court, who already forbade those kind of acts by the police, And also, we have reports that in Rio de Janeiro, the police started a blitz in the middle of the Brazil Avenue, in the center of the city, causing a huge, great traffic, with lots of buses and cars pulled out, So those are the reports we're getting, and all the journalists are saying that this is not something that we should accept. So we are very concerned about those who, in the end of the day, who won't be able to vote for because of those incidents.
I understand. We are joined as well with Claudia Martinez, Mexican journalist from Canal 14 and Mexican State Broadcasting System. Hi, Claudia. Where are you, and what is the situation there?
Hello, everybody, and regards from Sao Paulo too, as some colleagues of this transmission. So, just a few minutes ago, I came from San Bernardo, where Lula da Silva voted this morning. It was very crowded of they say here tornadores, no, the Lula's people, but also we found people of Jair Bolsonaro, but it seems a little bit curious, because I had the opportunity to interview some of them, and they I felt that they were a little bit nervous to say their preferences, electoral preferences. Some of them told me, my candidate is Bolsonaro, no, because the tension on the election, the tension in the polls, in the schools where the people is going to vote, it's very crowded. There are several points where a lot of people from Lula da Silva, and in another street, in another corner, people who supports Bolsonaro. And I think, I hope I'm wrong, but probably the people in the night with the results came out probably will have some problems on the streets. I hope no, of course, but we found that on the streets, a lot of people a little bit afraid to vote, to share their support to some candidate, and it's very concerned for us as international press also.
I understand a lot of you were there in the first round. How does it feel compared to the elections at the beginning of the month and the first round today? What are you feeling that is different, Michael?
Well, so in the first round, there was a lot of excitement and some hope that Lula might take it just immediately in the first round. There was obviously a lot of candidates. Bolsonaro was far back. So there was excitement. It's interesting because now there's been a lot of momentum just in the last couple of days behind Lula. People were very nervous. People still are very nervous, but Bolsonaro was kind of climbing in the polls. But after the debate that we saw just a couple of days ago, Bolsonaro didn't do very well in that debate. Then Bolsonaro tried to push this whole radio thing in the Northeastern, saying that they hadn't played the same number of ads as the Lula campaign for him, and that was a problem, and they needed to postpone elections. And that kind of just fiddled out. Like nothing kind of came from that. The Supreme Court pushed back completely, said that's ridiculous. And even his communications manager, who had originally done the first press conference to denounce these claims, came back and said, look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done anything about it. So that kind of fiddled out. And so there's been a lot of momentum on the streets for Lula lately. You see a lot of people with stickers on, wearing their red colors. This was something that a lot of Lula supporters were nervous about doing early on because of the potential violence that might happen, because of the attacks. And so we've seen kind of just a very large push and a lot of momentum for Lula in the last couple of days by his supporters. And so there's a lot of emotion there. At the same time, look, the polls show that Lula's only up between, say, 4 to 6 points. And so there's excitement here. There's emotion. People are excited about what this could mean. But at the same time, it's very tense because we don't know what might happen. And of course, remember that Bolsonaro in the past, historically, he's always done better for presidential elections than what the polls show, because exactly what Claudia was just saying, people are nervous to say in person that they might be supporting Bolsonaro, but when they then go vote, then they do. So there's a lot of questions here. And so people are excited, but also very nervous.
Fernando, we were there when the bicentenary celebrations happened, and Brasilia was filled with Bolsonaristas. What is happening right now during the second round in Brasilia, in terms of comparing?
I would say they are not as strong in the streets as back then, in September. I think a lot of people, like Michael said, some people, they are not so confident to go on the streets, waving flags. And also I've been seeing around a lot of cars with Lula's flags, which we didn't see in the first round, So I would say things are more balanced between the two sides, regarding that.
Thank you. Well, like we said, these are very important elections. I don't want to take any more of your time on the ground, and we will be reporting through Global Exchange social media. Yes, Fernando.
I'm very sorry to interrupt. I just got this video here, and it shows in the south of the country, a place called Blumenau, the police stopping 3 or 4 buses, and the guy who's doing the video, he says these people from the landless movement who are preparing themselves to invade, some farms and some lands, which is of course a lie. That's just a bunch of workers going to vote, and they're just being stopped. I don't know if you can see here, but you see, there's like 3 or 4 buses. They say that it's supporters from the Workers' Party, It's a lot of people right there.
E o exército já botou 2 caminhões de soldado lá armado para tentar expulsar eles de lá, tá?
You see, so the guy basically is saying like, well, you should spread this out, they're trying to invade, they're just waiting for the results so they can do that. So that's just to scare people, and say, well, just go and vote for Bolsonaro, because if you vote for Lula, that's what's going to happen. And this kind of things, we're getting reports like that. It's happening all over the country, unfortunately.
Would someone want to comment on this? Claudia.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it unfortunately is happening also in some parts of Sao Paulo, for example. I don't know if you commented that before I came to the forum, but this morning Lula da Silva made a call about not to use guns. Remember that TSA here in Brazil said that this is forbidden use the guns, any kind of guns, 24 hours before the elections. So yesterday here in Sao Paulo, in Paulista Avenue, just 6 or 7 corners where the Mexican team took place, where the congresswoman with the deputy of Bolsonaro used the gun to intimidate some Lula da Silva supporter. So this morning, Lula da Silva talked about that, and he said that in no country, no democratic country can allow this kind of expressions, even in a day before an important election as the presidential election of Brazil is. No, he made a claim about to maintain the peace, to tolerate themselves, in order to even the result was, or even the candidate win, to not deserve this kind of election between a violence or a tension, or people dying or people held this night. Remember that Lula da Silva will be in Paulista Avenue this night. So the Mexican press and also international colleagues will talk about that. What happened if Lula da Silva loses, especially when, as colleague Fernando said, that's images about people in the way to the poll stations stopped by the police, by Jair Bolsonaro. No, what will happen? And probably it will come to some kind of violence. We don't know. We are very afraid on that. And of course, ex-president Jose Mujica yesterday was in the press conference with Lula da Silva and Fernando Haddad here in Sao Paulo, and he transmitted the same message: tolerate themselves, even the result was no. And this is the most important thing that that we need to express, and we need to send to the media. In our media, of course.
Tensions are definitely rising. Would Michael, Fernando, I don't know if Laura is still on the line. Would you like to comment about this concern about Bolsonaro not accepting a defeat? Is there still this concern? And like Claudia says about turning some violent, that maybe tonight, maybe in the coming days. Michael?
I mean, I just say that, that's obviously a potential, and it's something that people are very concerned about. We don't know what that may look like. We don't know what the reality is. And I think people are just really excited right now to see to see the results of the vote and see what actually happens first. And then, face whatever comes. But that is obviously a concern. It has been for, since for years, if not since last year, and it continues to be today.
Thank you so much. Well, like I said before, I don't want to take any more of your time because I know you're on ground. So thank you, Michael, Laura, Claudia, and Fernando. Please stay tuned on our social media: Global Exchange, Peninsula 360 Press, and Terra 360, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter accounts, as well as Facebook. And throughout the day, we will be bringing you updated information on what is happening there, and we'll have a more extensive report tomorrow with the results of these elections at 1 p.m. in Brazil time, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you too.
Take care. Bye.